Hello, everyone. This is Tikva from Homeopathy for Humanity. And we have an interesting program today where we are going to talk about Hahnemannian homeopathy and how it has changed our practices and how it can change yours as well. So Ivona is going to be giving us a little presentation and we're going to be having some general discussion.
Yes, fabulous, Tikva. Thank you very much. I'll turn on my screen share now. Can you all see it?
Not yet.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Utility.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Utility.
yeah, is the word of the day, because I think that's the point of homeopathy. So how can it be useful for our patients and not just building methods and, making seminars, people can charge for it then, etc. So that's the title, Utility of Hahnemannian Homeopathy, the Future of Homeopathy, and the Evolution of Medicine, because I think the three are very closely related. So as I said earlier, I supplemented today's panel discussion with some quotes from the book titled Examining Complementary Medicine. It's a collection of essays. So I wanted to share it with you guys to just get the juices going before we start talking about how Hahnemannian homeopathy changed our practice. So from one of the essays titled Reasonable Consensus, Self-Criticism and the Ground of Debate, a Case from Homeopathy by Ursula Sharma, it says the following: a vital component in the development of a modern profession is an agreed body of knowledge, codified to a high degree and transmitted through formal modes of training and education. For knowledge to be codified, the professional community needs to develop a reasonable consensus on principles that can be referred to in case of disagreement, and methods of moderating disputes on fact or theory. Continuing from this essay, one contributor to the classical / just classical debate lamented the fact that it was actually difficult to evaluate the evidence for different techniques, since many seminars and masterclasses at which cases are presented by experienced homeopaths are too expensive for the ordinary student or person practitioner to attend. The question stands, what exactly are people doing? Why are they doing it? And what criteria are being used to evaluate success? So she mentioned this because in the UK, there is quite a big debate on classical and not classical. And then from the other essay, Homeopathic Therapeutics, Many Dimensions or Meaningless Diversity, by Jeremy Swain, he says, there is extraordinary diversity in the practical application of those homeopathic principles, so much so that a consistent therapeutic method based on a coherent and unifying rationale is hard to find. This diversity may reflect some precious truth about human nature, but to most critics, the reality must appear incoherent and irrational, as it does. Many involved in homeopathy may fear that attempts to impose order and discipline on the development and investigation of its methods will damage its holistic impulses. On the contrary, I believe such discipline is necessary if homeopathy is to fulfill its potential as a form of holistic medicine in its own right, and if its holistic and scientific insights are to enhance the evolution of medicine as a whole. Continuing from this essay, there was nothing holistic, I added the quotation because I don't like this term, in the origins of homeopathy. It was not conceived as a medicine of the whole person, but on pragmatic and empirical principles from the observed effects of substances on healthy people and their corresponding benefits when used as medicines for sick people manifesting disorders similar to those effects. Its early triumphs included cholera, an epidemic pathology in which the nature of the individual patient is hardly an issue. Though arguments for skepticism about homeopathy have often focused on biological implausibility, my own worry turns on the bewildering variety of homeopathic precept and practice. There is enormous diversity in the beliefs and practices of homeopaths. He says the following, Jeremy Swain, homeopathy lacks a coherent and progressing scientific basis. So I can't believe this was said. that homeopathy lacks scientific basis. So this is an opinion of a homeopath who, in the same essay, alongside the author of the first essay, Mrs. Sharma, so they both also call homeopathic remedies dilutions, which we know they're not, they're dynamizations. So this person says, a homeopath writing an essay about issues of homeopathy, he says homeopathy lacks a scientific base. So this is a big problem. So next, he says, this has allowed a free proliferation of divergent theories composed of metaphysical and empirical observations in varying proportion and relationship, he thinks. It is extremely confusing for anyone seeking some consistency of clinical method. Now I'm repeating the quote from the initial essay, a vital component in the development of a modern profession is an agreed body of knowledge. So we don't have this. And these are the types of diversity Mr. Swain lists in homeopathy. So we have diversity in philosophy, in prescribing, in polypharmacy, in dose and potency, in materia medica. So basically in everything. So Hahnemann says we just have the principles, the remedies, and then applying the remedies to the case. And we, as a profession, we diverge in all of these questions. And the last essay I wanted to mention was by Dr. Peter Fisher, which is a very important English homeopath. He was one of the directors of the homeopathic hospital in London. He was the Queen's GP at one point, and he's one of the presidents for sure of the Medical Association of Homeopaths in the UK. And he made an essay titled, Is Homeopathic Prescribing Reliable? Where he, of course, analyzes, the methods of prescribing and all of that. But I think it's ridiculous that a person of this kind of standing in homeopathy even makes a essay titled, in this way. So this is all I wanted to share in the introduction. So I think it's important that we discuss these issues because I don't know about other people, but my roots of homeopathy start from the UK, and there is a great divergence, and people practice however they want, and some of them apparently think there is no scientific basis in homeopathy, which from the Organon we know there is, and it's along other classical works such as chronic diseases and Bönninghausen and etc. It should be a scientific basis for a practice, and we see this is not the case. And I've had more success since I started. I've had more ground, more understanding in my cases since I started applying the methods proliferated by Tikva and Sanjay from Homeopathy for Humanity and in their work and all they do. So I just wanted to know, how other people were affected and their practice by this knowledge, and maybe even how Tikva and Sanjay found this more Organon and Hahnemann based direction.
You bring up some very interesting points here, where you have homeopaths that don't realize that there are concrete principles to being a homeopath.
Yes.
And the other principles, relating to things like dose and frequency, these are left up in the hands of the individual allopath as well. So therefore, it shouldn't be a matter of contention.
What does contention mean?
Discord. If somebody, let's say that, okay, because you have to individualize treatment to some degree.
Yeah.
And, whether or not you're a homeopath or you're an allopath, you're going to have to individualize the treatment to some degree. Because the allopath might say, oh, well, you're going to need to take your medicine twice a day to one person. But they might say to the other person, you need to take your medicine 3 times a day.
Depending on the sex, metabolism, severity of the pathology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a homeopath does no differently than that. But the fundamental principles are definitely scientific, in my opinion. And it is greatly improved how, what I do in practice, to go back to the Organon and the chronic diseases. I mean, like no comparison. Like I used to be like totally fearful and just be like, oh no, I'm so scared I'm going to make a mistake. And I don't feel quite certain. But, going back to the Organon and really reading it, not just once, not just twice, but a few different times, and, really putting it together and then adding the chronic diseases to it has been so helpful for me.
Yes. Chronic diseases for me, like finding it was like a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
It just adds the depth to everything you're doing.
Yeah, it was basically considered a continuation to the Organon.
Yes. And when I studied, Organon was like mentioned. We looked through it a bit,
Right.
but it wasn't like, I remember a girl a year older than me, I remember talking to her, just chatting, and her saying like, oh, I don't intend to do anything, like I don't intend to do homeopathy in any way like Hahnemann did it. And I was like, and there wasn't much focus put on Hahnemann's works, and chronic diseases wasn't even mentioned. I bought it just because I liked Hahnemann, and I saw the book at a pharmacy once, and it wasn't even the whole book. It was just the theoretical part.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Faisal?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So you've been with the organization for quite a while, I've heard.
Sorry, I could not understand. What do you want to say?
When did you start studying homeopathy? How was it for you? How was it for you at first?
Okay. Just like I have changed many religions in homeopathy, I just started homeopathy on my basic experiment in the start. And then I followed different homeopaths in Pakistan, because in Pakistan, homeopathy is very common like India.
Okay.
Very, very common. A lot of people follow homeopathy. And there are probably half million homeopaths in Pakistan.
Wow.
Yes. Then I followed many homeopaths, but I never studied Organon or Hahnemann. Just I listened the name of Hahnemann.
Yeah.
Then I joined Ma'am Tikwa. She taught me Organon. Basically, I was I was very impressed by Hahnemann Organon, first of all. When I was studying in the college, my teacher told me that Organon is the key of homeopathy.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, they never taught single one aphorism in whole span of that study. But since that time, I had an idea that organon is very important in homeopathy. But I never said, no one follow organon in Pakistan, although there are a lot of homeopaths. Then Ma'am Tikwa taught me organon. Since that time I'm following Hahnemann, and I'm very successful. I'm very successful.
I'm glad to hear that. So it's changed your practice.
Yes, it's changed my practice. It brought a lot of confidence in me. And I have running an academy in my country, in my own language, in my Urdu language, Pakistan, which is the language of Pakistan. And more than 500 homeopaths have been, I have taught them for repertory software in the light of Organon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, see, this is part of why I needed you to have Faisal here, because Faisal has taken up the baton and run with it in Pakistan, and we are so happy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Amazing. I didn't know that.
Yes, and now I'm very happy with my practice, and especially Organon, but especially chronic disease book was a new world for me when I studied it. And Ma'am Tikwa taught me page by page. It is 4 years back when I studied, and really it was new world. Many concepts have been cleared. after studying chronic disease book.
Many what? Sorry, I
And
didn't understand.
Concept.
what?
Many concept has been cleared.
Ah, cleared.
Cleared,
Okay.
cleared.
I thought you said
And
cured.
especially ma'am, I have seen no homeopath in my country. I know homeopath only my country. I'm not aware of homeopathy in the world, but I very well know homeopathy in my own country.
Okay.
There is no single one homeopath in the Pakistan who knows the real theory of miasm of Hahnemann.
Oh, wow.
There is no single one homeopath. I really know. I really am telling true. There is no single one. And when I tell them the real, and especially I have made 10 videos just in the respect of 10 miasm theory. I have made 10 miasm, 10 videos on miasm, real theory of miasm, which in which I have explained Hahnemannian miasm theory.
And how did
Just
people react to it? Sorry.
People have not clear idea about miasm. When I on the videos, I think after watching those 10 videos, no one can understand miasm. No one can understand because there is a lot of hurdles after every step. And when we try to understand real theory of Hahnemannian miasm theory, there is very hurdles. For example, people have a lot of strange ideas about miasm. I have also, and when we tell them this is real theory of Hahnemannian miasm, they don't understand, and it takes time to understand. I could not understand miasm theory in single one day. I think I could understand in 1 year from Ma'am Tikwa. And after chronic disease, page by page, word by word, then I could understand miasm theory. But there is very bad situation of homeopathy overall, because above 80% homeopaths are using combinations.
Yes. They want the
above 80%. Yes, above 80%. And the 15% which are using homeopathy are not using Hahnemannian homeopathy. They are actually they are using their own concepts.
Yeah.
Because the issue is there is no specific teacher in the country, and the homeopaths don't take time to understand the real homeopathy of Hahnemann. In my academy, I try to teach the people, but people, I have seen that, I have experimented that people don't take time. It is the issue. I don't know why it happens. I think it is not a. I think it could not become properly science till the date now. So that's why the concept people don't make it as a science, and they adopt their own ideas. In the future, homeopathy will become science, inshallah. And then, so there are no perfect. Yes, but it is science. Yes, it is science.
The real homeopathy, but everything can be called homeopathy nowadays.
Yes, yes.
You know, every homeopath in Pakistan, homeopath, they say they practice homeopathy, but what do they actually practice? I think that's what Faisal meant, right?
Yes. Today, homeopath, a very successful homeopath who attends 100 patients daily, he was saying that when I treat diarrhea of the children, when Podophyllum, Crutentig, Ignatia, or aloes fails, I give combination 242 BM.
Yeah.
Then I told him, if homeopathy fails, why do you use homeopathy? It means BM242 never fails. So why do you give homeopathy? Give combinations. So people have no knowledge about homeopathy, and there is actually no teachers available in homeopathy. It is the situation in Pakistan. I don't know about other countries.
No, it's the same here in Croatia. I remember like I was trying to get treatment for myself, and like I live in the capital, so like fourth of the country lives in the city I live, and I managed to find one person that practices classical homeopathy,
Okay.
whatever that means, and like she prescribed 2 remedies at the same time. Her case taking was shit, pardon my French, you know, like, so even her, you know, and the other guys I know that practice classical, they don't go beyond 30C because they're the followers of Rudolf Steiner. It doesn't matter, it's like a mystical school, so due to like religious reasons they don't use certain remedies, and then they prescribe some German herbalistic stuff, so it's not, you know, it's not homeopathy obviously, so it's quite bad.
Yes.
Basically, why it is named homeopathy?
Sorry.
Why it is named as a homeopathy? Because it's based upon its principles.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the main principle is law of similar.
Yes.
And I actually started understanding homeopathy and restudying. Would like to tell you one funny story. When I was in college, I was, am I audible well?
Yes, yes, yes.
So.
You're very quiet. Make your microphone a little louder, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, when I was in college,
Can you turn up your microphone, Sanjay?
which one?
Yeah, turn it up so that you're louder.
Okay, let me. Is it fine now?
It's better.
Yes,
It's better, right? No, you
for
turned
me
it
it is fine. Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
let me. Okay. When I was in college, and actually I wanted to become a doctor.
up.
Yeah.
Full microphone.
You're making like a very loud sound.
I'm making a loud sound.
Yeah, it's like.
Just continue.
Sanjay has, I think, switch on the radio.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Tapan.
Hello.
What's going on?
हाँ जी.
I don't know. He's answering his phone.
हाँ जी बोलो ना. सर अभी मैं एक कॉन्फ्रेंस में हूँ. तो can we talk later? Maybe tomorrow? Yeah, okay. 10 o'clock? Huh? Okay, fine. Fine. Okay. Okay.
Yes, you were telling a funny story of your college time.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to become a doctor, basically.
Okay.
And I was, doctor means I am talking about the allopath.
Yeah.
And I failed to get an admission only with the margin of 5%. And after that, one of my dad friend opened a new homeopathic college. And he told that you get here in admission here and you will become a doctor. And my ideas of becoming doctor or practicing was similar like allopathy that time.
Mhm.
I wanted to give that injections, IV and everything.
Yeah. like from the
And
show.
I started studying like that. And when there was a class of materia medica or organon, and it was just a big bouncer overhead. So I said, I just wanted to pass this subject. I don't need to get in the practice. And somehow it completed my 5 years. But I attended one of the hospital for practice since my second year. And 4 years before I got my certificate, I had clinical experience in an hospital, allopathic. And then slowly, when after reading, I thought, why I have spent so many years in studying, like 4 or 5 years, and what I am doing? I am practicing allopathy. It's not good idea. And I want, and then I started, and first word I learned that individualization.
Mhm.
When people are not similar, how can we use a similar medicine for each and every? And then law similar was the second one. And that was after 5.5 years. Then I started reading homeopathy, Organon. And there was no teacher because I was already passed from college. And that time over here, nobody was teaching anyone. No seminars, nothing. Everybody has their own secrets, formulas. Huh? They don't used to reveal these things. And then I went to some doctors, some famous doctor, one of the famous doctor in my city here. And he told, we have so much patients, so many patients that no patients are left for others. So why are you practicing homeopathy in this town? I don't want to take name of that homeopath or session, but and then it was like, oh, means, yeah, are you trying to stop me, or are you trying to show that what you call a monopoly in the town of practicing homeopathy? So it
Yeah.
was like, oh, I will do the homeopathy now. And I wanted to do homeopathy. And I started reading myself. First word I learned, which was very difficult, individualization and law similar. And it actually make me curious to learn homeopathy.
Mhm.
Then I started reading Organon. But still, it was like I was practicing somehow. I was learning other methods also. I was reading lots of books, homeopathic books, even psychology and everything in those periods.
Mhm.
So what happened that time? First thing, law similar, then potentization, then all those cardinal principles of homeopathy. It was a base for my learning everything. Homeopathy and everything. I learned not only homeopathy from this principle, I learned everything, even part of life. Then I
Yes.
make center a life. Life is also based on this principle. We are not different from away or different from these principles. Because see, when there was a sound a few moments earlier, we were not able to hear ourselves well, right? Why?
Yeah.
Because noise was a common factor. When you have a similar sound, you cannot what do you make others hear with low intensity of similar nature. And this is law of nature actually, and we are not apart from nature. So homeopathy is nature and life is homeopathy, I can say.
Mm.
And you will not believe it takes me another 5 years to learn homeopathy. And another 5 years to settle, means almost 10 years, 10 to 12 years to settle and have a good number of patients.
It takes a long time, yeah.
I was not having much burden of my income for from practice for my home and everything. I was having other sources, so it was okay. So if I don't get patient for 45 days, it's okay. But that period, I learned Organon first, and I make principles from these principles of homeopathy. Whatever earlier I told you that it was my motto. You can fly as much as high you can, but you don't have to lift your feet above the ground.
Yes.
And whatever method, I learn everything, all methods. But whenever I saw my feet are getting away from these principles, I just left it. This was my journey. Then Tikva, and then we just fold our hands.
Oh, sweet.
So homeopathy has taught me everything, organon, and basically chronic disease. Unless and until you understand chronic disease, it's highly impossible to make and complete cure.
Yeah.
Because whatever medicine, see, this is the medicine, and it has suppose 18,000 symptoms. And you are sensitive for say 10,000 symptoms. And I'm prescribing on just 5 symptoms or 10 symptoms.
Yeah.
How much probability is there? Pick up any medicine and you can give, you will have some result somehow in all patients. But that's not our intention. Our intention is to drive cure in the way we want it to. Like we drive a car on the road. Huh? We drive the car, right? We wanted to take left, we wanted to take right, we wanted to drive in on a center lane. We can move it because we learn how to drive it. But when we don't know how to drive, then that time car is driving us.
Yes.
Car
Yes.
is driving because you wanted to stop the car and you are pressing accelerator and
Yeah, that's how I often felt when prescribing.
so you need to ask question to ourselves. Everyone need to ask question to ourselves. Am I driving homeopathy or homeopathy is driving me? This is the difference. Hahnemann homeopathy, many say is not scientific, but nothing is away from the science unless if you look at the science of life, science of nature.
Yes.
Science itself has a very limited boundary. Because life and nature is beyond the science. Right?
No, not really.
No, actually, no, not you. Don't take it like that. What I mean to say, human being means what? Thoughts of what you call. It is beyond the thoughts of human nature being.
No, of course, some things are inexplainable, but we need to.
Yeah,
there should be a science to
there
cure
is
it.
science.
to curing, to making computers, to, I don't know.
It's like Bonninghausen says, that when he was making his repertory, he said that soon that everybody is going to be able to prescribe with the same likeness of similarity, just like botany. So when you know that you have a patient that has X, Y, and Z symptoms, that is going to be universal amongst homeopaths. And that's part of why he made his repertory, so that we can have a universal language.
And even you will see, what does the aphorism 26, right? 26 says, it's law of nature. Homeopathy is based upon law of nature.
Absolutely. All of it.
So every principle, it's even science is also based upon law of nature.
Yes. But science, the job of science is to notice natural laws, word them, and make use of them, right?
Because someone has wrote in the books, and that's why. But there are many and many things that yet to reveal.
That what?
Those are yet to reveal. Nobody has. It's beyond.
Of course, there are things to be discovered, but how can we discover them if we're not rooted in the laws?
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you. There are many things, even in the science,
Yes,
that are not revealed by science and human minds. And there are many things, even in homeopathy. But it is very clear, law similar is typical, it is main center of homeopathy. Potentization, it can be easily understand. Anything which is more diluted is having gentle effect. Anything and anything which is more concentrated is we will having an harsh effect. Okay, just then one of the vital force he's talking about.
yes.
Then he's talking about chronic disease. He's talking about individualization. Nothing in the universe is similar unless and until you take a single bond of atom. What holds that center part of atom and revolving electrons?
Yeah. The dynamic force.
That really, these are material things. What is protons, neutrons, and these electrons, components of atom. And what holds that is the energy. When you break it, energy is released, right?
If we break that, we have a nuclear reaction.
So what I mean, suppose this is remedy sepia. This
I'm not
is
an expert, admittedly.
right.
Yes.
This is potentization. We do not break the atoms to release the energy. Homeopathy is not an energy medicine.
No? But Hahnemann says we break up the particles, right? I think it's aphorism 169. No. Yes, he says we break up the particles by trituration. Maybe he means of the matter, not the particles as we mean it in modern terms. But
yeah, Hahnemann say there wasn't a concept of what there was no concept of electrons, protons, neutrons.
Yeah, he didn't mean by those, right?
Right, but we have to break up the substance and release the vital Energy.
and sulfur ion, a lycopodium ion. Just imagine, ion, large final atom. Their characters are maintained only because there is certain number of proton, neutron, and electron holding together. Right? Because it's calcium, why we say it has certain number of proton and certain number of electrons. Phosphorus, it has different number of electron and proton and neutrons.
Yes.
Right? Then when we talk about iodine, it has different number. When even in the minute dose
Yes.
after potentization or dynamization, you can see, that character is still maintained in that small amount. It proves that its bonding is still intact. If you break those bonds, electrons are separate, neutrons are separate, and protons are separate. And we don't know which come from calcium and which come from sulfur and which come from phosphorus. Everything is same. There will be no difference between sulfur, phosphorus, or lycopodium or nux vomica. And when you are noticing the differences between these remedies, it proves that it holds that bonding intact at the atomic level.
Yeah.
And this is science.
But I don't think that matters as much.
No, but you want that explanation that why it is not and how these laws of homeopathy, we can tell the words are more scientific. It's not some theoretical only.
No, of course not. We know that. Luckily.
Even chronic disease theory, it's just a perspective. We call theory, but it's also based upon exact scientific way. But
Yeah,
nobody knows.
and research. Emilio said it well today in WhatsApp. It's years of research Hahnemann did of historic books and cases, to back up his theory, what he, it's very scientific, to have like a thesis, something you notice, and then go to the books and research and data and back it up, with facts and notice the patterns.
Right. That's what I really like about the chronic diseases is that, Hahnemann takes that information that he found throughout history and brought it into a single source and came up with a conclusion. Now, maybe we want to discuss some of those conclusions, especially with the advent of modern science that might not always jive together properly.
Yes.
But the fact that he even went to that time to do it, spent all this time, all this effort. There was no Google back then. Even, what did he go for libraries? There were central libraries in cities. And these, it was not easy to get your hands on all these different research documents and all these different books throughout the ages. And so there was a monumental task. And even if we think that it seems just a little odd, that he has underspora, that he has different types of things like, that he has fungus, herpes, which is a virus, and he has bacteria for like erysipelas and other things like that. We have multiple pathogens, but we have one thing that unifies the situation is that there has been a suppressed eruption. And that is the unifying tool in the idea that there has been a suppression of a skin eruption at some point. And I think that that's where we need to really focus on.
Yes.
To understand that something has happened, whether or not there may be this pathogen, that pathogen, etc. But something has happened that has caused the person to become relapsing unwell.
Yes. And that's what I like about chronic diseases, because it really brings this other dimension to everything. You know, it's not just the case in front of us, but the body we're treating in a moment of time and with its history, and how the tissues, you know, reacted to this or that. And I can imagine, you know, when he describes the pathogens and the miasm, you know, I can imagine, especially with the modern theories nowadays, you know, how it moves throughout the body and how different changes, you know, interact with the body's dynamics. It's really like, once I started reading the, you know, the excerpts you give, Tikva, in the groups more carefully for the chronic diseases, like once I really started reading them, like with my mind and reason.
That's the point. That's the main
Yeah.
key, is actually reading it with your mind.
Actually, yeah.
Yes, it's very, very important.
Like I use my brain, you know,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, you know, suddenly I got like, you know, a whole new world open up for me, like, oh, you know, so this happened. And I started seeing the body like in 3 dimensions, you know, from that. And I was like, man, like, that's so smart, you know, because you have with the organ, you have the totality, and that's like 2 dimensions, you know. Allopathy has 1 dimension, it's like a dot, you know, and it's called disease. Then you have 2 dimensions with totality, and then with chronic disease, you're totally 3D. It's like, it's amazing. So
Yeah, isn't it great?
it's fucking incredible. And when I saw the research, you know, how Emilio commented now today on WhatsApp, like the research that went into it, and thinking about that, you know, and you said it, there was no Google, there was nothing. This man single-handedly, like, you know, he ran so we could walk. It's like, it's incredible. It makes me cry. Like the work he did, and the scrutiny and the brilliance of his mind, you know, to notice all of that and be objective and rooted in the truth, you know, and the science of it, and really, you know, and being conscientious, like, oh, I noticed this, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Let's see if it's true. And that's the path I want all of us to follow. And why I wanted to talk about this topic is because that's how he made it, you know, well, by being conscientious and smart and hardworking. And I think, you know, homeopathy won't progress, you know, until we're all like that, and not, you know, meditating on remedies, you know, dream provings, crystals and stuff like that. I mean, it's all fun, but it shouldn't be the basis. I don't think that's how we will get back homeopathic hospitals in Europe that were once in America, you know? Like that won't ever happen until we like really follow the path of Hahnemann. You know what I mean?
Amen.
Hallelujah. No, but really.
No,
I
really,
I mean,
100%. We need to understand it with our minds. We have to
Yeah,
go
great.
point by point, and we have to actually understand the information. And you know, it's hard. It's
Yes,
not
very
simple
hard.
information.
It's really
It's-
hard.
It is. It's hard information, and so you know, we just have to actually.
When Faisal said
forth.
he understood chronic diseases in a year, I was like, wow, like that's a short time for me. Because I'm just scratching the surface this whole time, because my brain cannot take more, you know? Sorry to interrupt you, Tikva, but yeah.
Oh, it's okay. No, we're just having a casual discussion here. But yeah, I mean, seriously, we just need to put in that little bit of effort. It might take more time, it might take less time, but the effort is important. And you can't become, let's say, a structural engineer without putting forth a lot of effort. And we as homeopaths need to do the same thing.
Yes.
And put forth that effort so
Yes.
that we're doing the best work we possibly can do. And that is crucial for the future of homeopathy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Amen. And I think maybe in a way we were all brought down that path to do that, because homeopathy has this lovely truth and art. You know, there's a universal truth about it because it's so scientific. But at the same time, it's still lacking this discipline in the community overall. And I think that's why common doctors, as well as structural engineers, Tikva, as you mentioned, like the common allopaths are so revered, because people know how much work it takes to become like a lifesaver. They know, like, oh, they study for years and years and years and years and years. that's what I want the future homeopath to be. Because our actual theory and the, you know, the all the material we have to go through, it's not easy. It's just as hard as medicine, if not harder. But most of the homeopaths don't go through the work, and they always look for the easy route. And they, especially in the England, I see, you know, you pay for this school, you sort of go through it, then you pay, and then you have to pay for this seminar and that seminar, and you always look for that one key, just one key, like that will, and everybody promises, you know, it's like a, you know, those television ads, you know, just like this one thing will cure your life, you know, just dial, you know, and you'll become the greatest homeopath. But it's not like, there's no miracle cure. And that's what I love about Homeopathy for Humanity, because you don't have to pay for a seminar, but you have to show up every day. Maybe not every day, but you have to show up and use your mind. You know, you don't have to pay for anything, but you have to use your mind.
I put the food out, and it's your obligation to eat it.
Exactly. Nobody will eat it for you.
Right. You have to eat it yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes you do the choo-choo plane, like, is anybody interested?
I know. I hate doing that. I do.
Oh
It's
no.
like, come on, guys. Is anybody out there? Does
Oh, no.
anybody care?
Oh,
It's
no.
so frustrating sometimes.
You're a lighthouse. Don't worry.
I mean, you know, year after year, you know, people come in, people come out, people like say, forget it, and they just give up. People just like,
Oh.
you know, it's hard because I want to see everybody succeed. It is so important to me to see people succeed.
Oh.
And, you know, making changes in their families, in their communities, in their countries. It is so important to me. I want to see this happen. I really do. But, you know, I'm one woman behind a semi-functional computer
With semi-functional internet.
my semi-functional internet, you know, but, you know, it matters to me. It matters.
You're doing God's work. I already told you.
But I have seen that these doctors have a lot of patients who
That's
use
incredible.
this
Yeah.
combination because
That's
the
incredible.
public,
Yeah.
because the general public want immediate
Yeah.
use from the treatment.
Yeah.
So a true homeopath takes some time to
Yeah.
attend the patients,
Yeah.
and many times. But the homeopath who uses combination can easily give the medicine, and he can attend 200 to 400 patients regularly, because
Yes.
a patient comes and if he tells that I have a upset stomach, and he give a combination, no time he spends. But a true homeopath takes much time. So that's why a true homeopath are not attending a lot of patients.
But they do better work, and they make a better change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like with farming. If you farm with a lot of pesticides and herbicides and all of that shit, you know, you get a lot of food, right? You have great profit, but you poison the land in the long term. You kill off the birds, you kill off the bugs, you kill off everything in like a kilometer radius. You fuck it up,
Yes.
you know, for a long time. And somebody has to come and do the work again to bring it back to life. But if you work with nature, it takes more time to learn to listen to it, the land and everything, and maybe you'll get a very small profit, and some of it you'll have to give to the rabbits and the birds and everybody else that has to eat. But in the long run, you'll do better work. That tomato will be better.
Yeah.
It will have more substance.
It'll have more
Beans will be better.
nutrition.
Everything will be better. Sorry?
It'll have more
Yeah.
nutrition.
Exactly. It'll have more nutrition, and the land will be healthier, and everything around it will be healthier. And the ecosystem will blossom, you know, and it will be beautiful. It's hard initially, but
लंबी रेस का घोड़ा.
sorry?
In Hindi we call it a लंबी रेस का घोड़ा.
Yes.
Long race.
I don't understand that, but it sounds good.
Faisal, can you explain? It is, it's like horse of long race, a marathon runner, always begins slowly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's nice actually to first need homeopath need to believe in the principle to be a good homeopath.
Yeah.
I think
And
I think
Work.
that the work will
Study.
start from
seven
science. The work will start from the science. And as gravity, we cannot see the gravity, but the vital force and the homeopathic medicine we can test on the human beings.
Yeah.
Then why science don't believe homeopathy? Although homeopathic medicine really works on the human
That's
being.
what I was saying today. I think on the surface it seems like the problem of homeopathy is the biodynamic, the mechanism. That's what the skeptics call out, but we don't know. And then we try to prove this mechanism, but we never try to work on our principles. And the skeptics often, I remember when I first got into homeopathy, I live in the Western world. Everybody's very, atheism, especially in 2014, when I was just getting into it, like the new atheist movement in Europe was very powerful. The attacks, on the New Age movement, on complementary medicine, on everything like hippy dippy, it was quite big. And I remember at that time how people made fun of homeopathy. They made fun of me because a lot of homeopaths, at least in the Western world, it's associated with yoga and that hippy dippy kind of thinking of like fairy dust, of magic, because it's more, for a lot of people, it's more of a lifestyle / religion than a science. And that shouldn't be, there's not a place of medicine in religion or in lifestyle. Medicine is a serious thing. So nobody will take it seriously until we take it seriously. You know what I mean? So I think that's the problem. Just on the surface, it seems that the mechanism of action is a problem. But
Yeah, because we can't do the same kind of controlled trials that the allopath loves so much. We can't do it because the individualization prevents that from being a success.
No, but there are ways to do it, but I don't think, but nobody understands the principles as well. And nobody's good enough of a prescriptioner to make a good trial. When I studied, they taught us in the scientific method of research. We had to do it for our seminars. I know I could do a good trial. It doesn't have to be double-blind placebo. You can still do a good scientific trial, but unless you know the principles and unless you can prescribe well, what's the point? You won't be able to do it because you need to be 100% homeopath. So that variable has to be settled like steel. That has to be stable, super stable. Then you can test the remedies, the placebo and the active one without a problem. But if you have the variable of you not being a half prescriber, then you'll never know if it's the remedy not working or if it's your prescription being bad. You know what I mean? That's the problem in homeopathic research nowadays. The remedies were never a problem.
We know that George Dawkins accepted the claim from James Randi. I think you have watched the video on the YouTube.
Okay.
That research, George Dawkins accepted that claim, and he wanted to start a research.
Yeah.
But that has been stopped. The scientists did not accept that George Dawkins.
I think there's a good reason behind everything, but I'm not sure about George Witholkas, to be honest with you.
Yeah, if you look at his courses, you have to buy his books.
A lot of money.
And then there's not, what's it called? And there's no there's no obligation to buy the chronic diseases or anything like that in his courses. So you're basically becoming a homeopath using his materials.
Exactly.
Which I think is, I think that's a fail.
It's super gimmicky. I don't know.
It's a fail, in my opinion.
It's a total fail. You can see he's about the money and not about the homeopathy. It's very obvious to me.
Yeah. I mean, back when I was young, he said that allopaths should become homeopaths because
Yes.
they have the right thought pattern to become homeopaths. But in my experience growing up around the MD allopaths that became homeopaths, now they did great work. They
Yeah.
brought homeopathy back to the United States, and that was a monumental task. That was awesome. Kol hakavod, that was fabulous.
Yeah.
But do they make the best homeopaths? No, because they have to realign their thinking way
Yeah.
too much. And then, you know, we have the same kind of, then there's the same kind of problem that like happens in like India and Pakistan, where if somebody isn't getting the results that they need as a homeopath, that they can then make an allopathic prescription. You know,
Yes.
being Western homeopaths, we are not allowed to foray into the allopathic prescription. So, you know, at least we're barred from that. But, you know, Sanjay or Faisal or Shahala, she can go out and, you know, write up a script and say, you know, go and get yourself some erythromycin. This is a possibility for them. They do cross practice.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're prevented from cross practice. And, you know, that's a good thing.
In a way, yeah.
And yeah, it's a good thing.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, it is. Because
get me
then
wrong.
that, you know, we have to really focus on what we do as homeopaths.
Exactly.
with
Yeah.
the
No easy
right
ways out.
frame of
No easy
mind.
ways
There-
out.
Yeah.
And
there-
Hahnemann had some strong words for practitioners like that.
Yes.
Everything was done that could have been done.
Right. And we tried it all.
Yeah, we tried it all to no
We
avail.
tried. I
He was
mean,
too sick.
of course, people still die. We don't prevent death. I mean, we're, you know, God is in charge.
That's not
of
our
life
job.
and death, you know?
That's not our job.
Right. God is in charge of life and death. But
Yes.
we are the conduits, the providers of the healthcare. Because
Yeah.
people have to do their reasonable effort, you know, to take care of themselves. And when people need help with their reasonable effort to take care of themselves, then, you know, that's our job, you know, to give lifestyle advice, to give medicine when needed. You know, I know, Faisal, you can talk about your very holistic practice that you do, where you do a lot of diet and lifestyle.
Yeah. Too bad Siva Kumran is not here. He does that as well a lot, I noticed.
Yes, but Faisal also.
Maybe too much.
Yeah, Faisal's really very, very, very good at changing the lifestyle of people that they come to him. And he has special incentives.
Yeah. What
Right,
do you
Faisal?
find? What do you find
Yes.
people need help with the most?
Sorry?
What do you find? Tikva says you're very big on changing the lifestyle of your patients. So I'm asking, what do you find people need help with the most? What they need to be taught about health?
Yes, in Pakistan, people don't know much about lifestyle. It is
Really?
very difficult to change their lifestyle, but I change their, but it is all temporary, because when people leave the treatment, after some time, they forget everything.
Really?
I especially teach my patients to not to use who are suffering from chronic diseases.
Okay.
I tell them, don't use allopathy in your next life, because this chronic disease will relapse.
Mhm.
But after some time, they forget these directions and
Unbelievable.
lifestyle. But temporarily, I change their lifestyle, and especially I have
You need to
100%.
charge them more so they won't forget.
Yes, this is it. And I'm very costly in my area, and especially in my city also. And I give much time to my patient, and I especially have seen that when we give special diet, we can reduce guaranteed people's weight. It means diet and lifestyle works very well. And
Yeah, of
Hahnemann
course.
mentions in his chronic disease, I think, or none, that with homeopathy, patient's lifestyle and diet must be changed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
learned
nice.
a lot from that part as well.
Amen.
Even Hahnemann says that tea should not be used during homeopathic.
Which one?
I think in chronic disease.
No. What he says, tea or coffee? What did you say shouldn't be used?
He also he mentioned many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also talked about tea and coffee.
Yeah. He even wrote a whole essay against coffee, but
also tea.
But
I
then he
think.
retracted it.
I read
and then he retracted it. Yeah. People still don't know.
Said
Some
that
people
it
still don't know
really
they
was-
retracted it.
Yeah, there's a very interesting story about what happens there. He said that after he came upon the idea of the chronic diseases and studied that coffee and tea were not quite as bad as he thought they were, because they offer a simple palliative to many of the symptoms that are in chronic disease, that he thought that it might be that you could implicate the use of coffee and tea. But then again, he says that we should have moderation in all things. Like, for example, we read a couple of days ago that, you should be careful with sugar and salt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this is sensible
Reasonable.
advice.
Reasonable. But
It's sensible not to drink 15 cups of coffee a day.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe it's too much. Maybe something's not quite right. No, but I love how that's also what I love about Organon, because he also really enlightened me. I mean, Hahnemann, right? About the idea of that lifestyle part, but also not just diet, but when he says, we have to watch for the medicinal substance during treatment, he really made me aware, this line of thinking like, oh, so there are medicinal substances, there are substances in general in the world, in the universe. Some of them we put into our body, some of them we put into our body and they have a medicinal effect and we react to it. And there are all kinds of things in the outer environment that go through our system and make changes inside of it. And how much the dose matters, like all of it is like this whole, like there are just a lot of categories that he's like seams through and makes it like a really good theory of medicine in general, because everything is kind of connected, the medicinal substance and the amount and the similars and all of that, just like really enlightening. I love it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. General public don't like that when doctor try to change the lifestyle and tell the diet, special diet. General public don't like it.
Then they're not sick enough. They're not sick enough. If they were sick enough, they would appreciate it. I tell to my homeopath, please tell me what they need to change. I'm so ill, I need help. And I listen to it. So they're not ill enough. Honestly. Sorry, you say.
It's nothing in common we can say everyone need to change this. Huh? We cannot say it's highly individualized thing. Highly dependent upon individual.
Of course, each case will have other things, accentuated. So some people will really need to get in the sunlight more. Some people will need to get less irritable, less upset about things. Some people will really need to change their diet, but I think there are good guidelines overall for everybody. But some people will need to focus more on different things.
We talk about diet and everything, whatever quantity you are taking, no matter small or large, it will affect your life. It is food or medicine, it will affect your life. Right?
Hahnemann says some people will be less affected by, for example, alcohol, strong liquor, some constitutions, right? Some people are more sensitive.
But everything is going to affect you. It's good for some time. When it's excessive, it will become bad.
Of course, yeah.
So everything is going to affect you. How much quantity you need is actually dependent on the particular individual.
Yes.
So if you are having problem, you need to change. If he is having problem, he need to change. If
Exactly.
I am having problem, I don't need to change. That is point.
Of course not. You're perfect.
In homeopathy, there is nothing in common for everyone. I don't know how to tell these words.
No, you're right. We should with every patient in front of us, we should try to connect with them and their case, right?
Yeah, you need to understand them, their sensitivity, their what you call how they react to
Of
their
course,
own
of course.
uh,
But that's the part of
environment.
observation of the patient, right?
What I learn when I talk about individual and his environment means whatever is outside his body is environment.
Yes.
Whatever is coming from outside, from his environment, even his food will affect his life.
Yeah, definitely.
But as a practitioner,
Yes.
I advise people against certain things in general. For example, people use copious quantities of chemical laden skincare.
Yeah.
And so I always advise that. I mean, I don't know how many people follow it or how often, but I try to talk about things like the chemical load. Like, people use like, home fragrance sprays. People are putting all kinds of things on their skin that aren't natural.
Yeah.
Kind of like a philosophy of if you can't eat it, don't use it, or try to limit the amount.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I know of a child that I was trying to treat, and he wasn't responding very well to treatment. But his mother uses a huge quantity of cleaning products and various chemicals in the laundry.
Oh no, wait,
And
that was
things
an
like
obstacle to
this.
cure.
Yeah, it can be a problem.
Oh shit.
And so I like to try to advise for people, if it's not a real product, if it's not real, try to
Exactly.
avoid it. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to avoid it all the time,
No,
but try to avoid it.
but I completely agree with you, because homeopathy for me is real medicine, and public health and educating the general public is a part of real medicine. It's like the fourth or fifth, it's like the fourth aphorism,
It's the
Dr.
fourth
Chanel
aphorism.
stands, in the way of health and inform the people about it. Like,
Exactly.
that's
There
our
you
job,
go.
Yeah.
It's your job. It's your job to say, stop putting that chemical formula all over yourself.
Yeah.
It's your job to say, stop eating poison every day.
Yeah.
Have that poison treat once in a while, but
Poison yourself every now and then. But don't
right,
poison yourself too much, girl.
right. You have a little bit of poison here and there, special occasion poisoning, but your everyday life should be healthy.
Yeah. No, but definitely. And I think that's why what we do is so important, and to get our principles right, because in this way we are the foundation of society, literally the society revolves around this, because then you have people making these products, and we can change, the demand by how we advise people, and then the producers will change as well, and the products will change, and we'll have a healthier society
In
and
my
healthier
lifetime,
economy and everything,
exactly. In my lifetime, the switch to more healthy products has been humongous.
Yes.
When I was your age, Ivona, there was only a few like alternative, less chemical based products on the market. And now these things are mainstream.
Exactly, because people ask
Mhm.
for it and people have been
Yeah.
informed about it.
Exactly.
Business.
Consciousness is raised. Yeah,
It matters.
it matters a lot. Yeah. So, does anybody have anything else to add? Because I think this might be a good note to end on. We've been speaking for an hour and a half now.
Hour and a half.
Yeah.
Then we need to conclude this session.
Yes.
We
Does
can.
anybody want to conclude it?
Faisal, why don't you go ahead and give us a nice little summary because you don't usually join us.
Yes, that's a great idea.
I think it's very difficult for me to summarize the whole discussion.
Just the important things. What do you want
and
people to stay with in their minds as they finish watching this?
The message is for the homeopaths, they should to learn Hahnemannian homeopathy. First of all, homeopaths should to change themselves because the change will start from the homeopaths and homeopathy.
Yes.
And second message for the scientists, they should to research on homeopathy because till that day when science will accept homeopathy as a science, when science will accept, then
Yes.
homeopathy will grow. Then Hahnemannian homeopathy will grow. Otherwise, you are seeing that combinations are growing. It's not homeopathy. Homeopathy is not growing. Although homeopathy is science, it is totally science, and it is very, very blessing for humanity. And people should to change their lifestyle and should to change it. But people first learn what is best lifestyle and what is best diet. It is very different subject to learn what is the best diet. Mostly people don't know what is good diet for them. They eat everything. I am talking about my country. I'm not talking about other countries.
Yeah.
So, and for homeopaths, the Hahnemannian work is the best literature for them.
Okay. Thank you for that beautiful message, Faisal.
Yep, get back to basics.
Yeah.
Get back to basics.
Yes.
Focus on those things. Focus on Organon. Focus on the chronic diseases. Make sure that you really understand these things. Really put it inside yourself so that you understand.
Yeah.
And it
Become
will
them.
help.
Okay. Thank you everybody for joining us. Join us next time. I personally invite everybody to join Homeopathy for Humanity, to subscribe, to like us on Facebook, to message us if you want to be a part of these groups, if you're a homeopath, if you want to learn more with us daily about Organon and the chronic diseases, or if you want to ask us any questions, or well, Tikva and Sanjay and other more experienced practitioners. If you want to
And
ask
you
any
wanna-
questions and learn, just join us and message us and contact us. And yeah, we're here for you.
Instagram, we have an Instagram page
Oh, I
as
didn't
well.
know. we
Yeah,
fans.
we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on WhatsApp, we're on
make a TikTok
Telegram,
now.
but the Telegram group is pretty much nobody's like there.
I couldn't believe it the other day when I saw it on Telegram. I was like, oh, this still exists.
It does exist. And if WhatsApp ever goes down, you know where to go. But every once in a while, because you never know.
Plan B. You never know. You never know.
You never know.
Especially nowadays with these times we
really.
live in.
The world is in such a strange state.
Yeah.
So yes, there are multiple platforms with which to reach out and feed your mind.
Yeah, we should stop recording. Bye.